Full-size electric pickup trucks, they're not exactly for the working class. This is the 2026 GMC Sierra EV, and at over $90,000 and at over 700 horsepower and at over 400 miles of real-world battery range, it's truly a vehicle of epic proportions and capability. It competes in a very small market of trucks, and you just might be in that top market. So let me take you inside and out and show you what it's really all about. The Sierra EV was brand new for 2024, but 2025 was its first full sales year, and already the 2026 model year is in full effect. 3 choices of batteries for the first time, 3 full trims, not just the top-level Denali. But the price, the weight, and all that power remain. New for 2026 is this AT4. You get 35-inch all-terrain tires that are electric vehicle optimized, somehow slightly better rolling resistance than a normal all-terrain tire, on the smallest 18-inch wheels. The Sierra EV Denali that we tested rode on 24s and it had air springs. That meant you could raise and lower the truck, but the AT4 doesn't. It is fixed. 2-inch lift means 10 inches of total clearance, more than the Denali. And the side step here is actually built in above the actual frame, so it doesn't actually intrude on your total ground clearance. I had thought it did as soon as I saw it, but it does not do that at all. Granted, this still does not have the approach and the departure angles that you would get from a Sierra 1500, especially on the AT4X package. But you can tell this is the AT4 because of the red tow hooks and a red GMC logo as opposed to being multicolor, black, all of that other stuff. Classic red on here. It's a good looking truck. Definitely looks completely large. It takes up this entire width of this trail because it's just big, but 4-wheel steering is standard, so it's very easy to get out of here in no time. Plus, GM's crab walk feature is now a feature. It's really not worth showing because it doesn't do anything except turn this into a big Atiyeh shopping cart where you're rolling like this all over the place. Overall, I like the way it looks, but it is gargantuan no matter which trim that you order. If you're expecting an interior as crazy or innovative as a Tesla or a Rivian, think again. And I'm glad GMC did not go there. The money you pay for a Sierra EV goes to the technology underneath. The interior, while it's good, certainly not worth $90,000 like you'd find in, say, a Sierra Denali Ultimate. That one is so much better. But the interface, there's enough physical controls. Everything else is very similar to other GMC models. I wish there were more physical controls, like for the climate control, and I also wish there was a sunshade. That's an option, and you have to install it yourself every time you want to use it. This glass roof lets so much sunlight in that it will warm the cabin, force you to put on the AC, and then decrease your range. In most pickup trucks, like in the mid-size segment, you're sitting here. Full-size, maybe here. But this is just kingly, it's palatial. Flat floor makes getting in and out so easy. The doors open wide. There's hardly any amenities. You just get some of the glass roof, heated outboard seats, a couple USB ports. But this space is unlike anything else in the class. The most unique feature of any pickup truck is the midgate. That's an optional feature that will extend the cargo into the cab itself. 10 feet, 10 inches of total length. You can extend this down and throw everything back there. If you want to see how it works, and it is a slight process, watch my review of the Sierra EV Denali. When you see this truck, it looks like a conventional Sierra, but there's over 10 kilowatts of power, 240 volt and 120 volt in the bed. It's also shared inside the cab and in the frunk. Now the payload is actually more of a mid-size truck weight rating. It's only 1,500 pounds on this version and upwards of 2,000 pounds on certain trims. But the towing, that is going into heavy-duty capacity. It's over 12,000 pounds here, up to 12,500 on specific trims. Way more than you're going to find with a typical Sierra 1500 just straight off the lot. I don't care, this is still really weird to be opening the hood of a pickup truck and have there be nothing there but some bags and some charging cables. It's usable. It's 11 cubic feet of space, power operated in the front of the truck or with the key fob. There's also a cup holder there and a 120 volt power outlet for even yet more power. These trucks, despite how heavy they are, whether you're buying the GMC Hummer, or the Chevy, they're actually delightful to drive. It's an odd thing to say. This truck weighs more than a heavy-duty pickup truck. So more than a Sierra 2500, likely more than a Sierra 3500. But it accelerates like it's a Camaro. It's pretty gentle for the most part, but all of these trucks, no matter which one you choose, have over 600 horsepower. Now that varies depending on which of the 3 trims you're using and which of the 3 battery packs you've opted to buy. There's now a standard range battery, just over 280 miles of range. Then you get the extended range, and then there's the max range. That's what I'm driving on this AT4. All-wheel drive standard, so there's dual motors on every trim. This one rated over 700 horsepower and nearly 800 pound-feet of torque. And it tracks really well on the highway. Even though this is the AT4 trim, this AT4 is definitely not as aggressive as the actual Sierra AT4 and AT4X, the gas versions. It doesn't have quite the same suspension geometry, but this is coil springs instead of an air ride, so it's fixed level. And even without the air, it rides pretty softly. These tires are filled, again, to heavy-duty tire pressures, 60 PSI when cold, so it can be slightly brittle on some very, very rough surfaces, but overall this truck does not really get upset about it. It just crushes everything into submission. That's when you have all this weight sinking you into the ground, having that big battery mounted low. Even though we're lifted another 2 inches, it's still pretty low. GMC estimates the max range on this AT4 will do about 478 miles, but I've been driving a lot of highway miles, 70 miles an hour, so for the most part, the fact that I'm doing that in this truck, which is not aerodynamic, yes, the body's smoother than a regular Sierra, but it's still very high off the ground. It's a brick going through the air. It is a lot of drag. Despite all that, I'm still getting over 360 miles without even needing to recharge once, and I've still got another 16% of this battery remaining. So it's actually pretty impressive. Now, having 4-wheel steer is nice when you're parking, but it's also nice when you're just driving on roads because the turning radius is tightened so much. This is basically the same type of driving experience in this big truck as you'd find in maybe a Chevy Equinox. That's so much shorter. This is not an exaggeration. Once you try 4-wheel steer, you'll wonder, how did you ever drive a pickup truck without one? The steering, like most of these big trucks that GM is now making, a little aloof, especially off center. They've taken away some of the crispness that a lot of their vehicles had just a few years ago. So I do miss that, but the chassis control is very good. There's really hardly any lean. There's not much dive at all. So it masks the weight and the size of this truck. And oddly enough, this Sierra EV handles better, meaning it grips better. It has more balance through turns than the smaller GM EVs like the Chevy Trailblazer or the Cadillac Lyriq, both of those which are on the same platform. Now, depending on which battery you choose also depends on which voltage you're gonna get. Now, the top 800 volt capacity, which lets you do that 350 kilowatt DC charging input, that's only if you're ordering specific trims. This one has it. So if you're not getting it, it's gonna charge slower. It's not gonna be the full 800 volts. And GMC is not disclosing the capacity for each of these batteries, but this one, the max range, is 205 kilowatt hours. It's the biggest battery you'll find in the industry, and it weighs as much as a small car. It's just under 3,000 pounds just for the battery. But driving this truck, it definitely feels like really the range is no issue. But then when you have to pay to fill it up, it does cost as much, especially at a commercial DC charging station. It'll cost just as much in most areas of the country, especially in the Northeast where electric rates are so high. It's basically like putting 30 gallons of diesel in. It's not gonna save you money. Compared to the Rivian R1T, the Sierra EV, not quite as explosive off the line, nor is it as off-road capable because the Rivian goes to something like 15 inches of clearance, especially with that air suspension, which not even the Denali version of the Sierra can do. And of course, it doesn't have all the theatrics and the insane look of the Tesla Cybertruck. And it also, well, not quite as utility focused as the Ford F-150 Lightning. When I drove a Sierra EV Denali against the Lightning won. And I would say that Ford still has the winning truck package among electric trucks simply because it's not trying to reinvent anything. When you get into a truck like the Sierra EV, you've got to get all new accessories because nothing really, or very few things, are compatible with the regular Sierra ICE versions. I do like that GMC brought out 2 new trims, the base elevation and this AT4. That will widen the reach a bit, but really, these trucks just cannot find enough buyers. Still though, every time I'm behind the wheel, I actually enjoy myself in these things. They're comfortable. They're not really altogether elegant from behind the wheel, but the money you're paying, definitely the performance is good. It's just nice to be in any electric vehicle that you don't have to worry about range. It's insane. But this battery is just a monster. There's no way around it. It really is too big. And the fact that I can drive this and forget that I'm driving a 9,000-pound truck, which is thousands upon thousands more than most light-duty pickups, that is a bit alarming. And it's definitely not a trend that GMC or really anyone should continue. More evidence of how well the Sierra EV takes turns is just the fact that I can do this type of driving, not feel out of control, handle better than a vehicle that General Motors itself makes that's thousands of pounds lighter. This is so much more top heavy, and yet coming to a stop, the brakes feel natural. It feels like there's actually enough brakes in here. Strangely very good. Every Sierra EV has this portrait touchscreen. It's nearly 17 inches. Looks all nice here, but you cannot use wireless Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. I don't even know why that's the thing, considering this is Google-based, not even Android Auto. For whatever reason, GM still is not having any of its EVs use those external phone projection modes, but hey, there's still a lot of controls here. Different driving modes. Terrain mode is exclusive to the AT4. In most cases, you'll never need to use that. This down here, when the battery's charged up enough, it'll give you that extra horsepower boost, over 700 on this model, which is crazy. You can see charging. 360 cameras are very sharp and clear. That's also typical GMC. Automatic parking assist, trailering, all that good stuff. Now, what's really nice though is that the fact that you have this volume knob, that's good, but then where are the other controls? Here's the lights. Here's how you turn the car on or off. Well, actually, to turn it on, you step on the brake and then you have to press this to turn it off, or you just leave the truck. I guess that's all right. And all the other controls are here, including for the dome light. So there's some controls that shouldn't be in here, but GMC has made it slightly easier. So if I want to turn on these cooled seats, well, now instead of the controls going all the way up here, which they did before, now it's properly down here. Takes some getting used to, but you will get used to it. Over time, it gets easier, and a lot of space here. This slides back. This cup holder tray slides back. Ton of room in the center console. The instrument cluster goes from minimal to more detailed, and you can change what's on that left-hand side by going into the main touchscreen. You cannot cycle through anything. You get full screen maps. I like that. Driver assistance view. Back to minimal. It doesn't show too much, it doesn't do too much, and it's clear. The 2026 GMC Sierra EV starts at $65,000. There are 7 trims. The one I tested, the AT4 Max Range, with destination around $94,000. The competition, there's only 3. The Ford F-150 Lightning, Rivian R1T, and the Tesla Cybertruck. If you like turning your dial to 11, this is the truck. All the weight, all the power, all the range, all the money. Really, among electric vehicles, this is one of the most extreme ones that you can buy from any manufacturer. And as a truck, it certainly does do truck things. But certainly at this price point and the limitations of being an EV, most people aren't going for the Sierra EV. But it is a compelling package. There aren't that many other competitors out there, and GMC really truly has done it, despite going to extremes in every single area. They built a truck that you can actually drive, use day to day, and if you're especially at home, power your own home. This really is a game changer if you're the type of person that's truly going to use all of its massive capability and performance. What do you think? What electric truck would you buy? Or would you buy a gas Sierra? Go check out all of our truck reviews. We got more coming on CarGurus and CarGurus.com. So subscribe, and we'll see you next time.